guys, welcome back to It's All Light. I'm happy to get back into some consistency here with the podcast, and I'm stoked for our guest today, Matt Nielsen.
Hey everyone.
So, Matt and I were in BYU Jerusalem together back in 2017. And yeah, I feel like we've been a little bit in and out of touch the past few years. So, this will be really fun to see what Matt lights up about and how it can benefit your guys' lives. So, we'll begin where we always do with a little bit of background on Matt. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I grew up in a small city in Southern California called Yorba Belinda. It's pretty close to Anaheim. So if you're familiar with Disneyland, as many Utahns are,
Right.
that's where I grew up. And, we were about, 30 minutes from the beach. So oftentimes during summers, I would go down there and try my hand at surfing or body surfing and all that. So it was I grew to really love the water and the ocean. So it's definitely a little bit of a change of pace being in Utah. It's a landlocked state. So but I moved here in 2018. I served a mission in Brazil.
Cool.
Moved and started school at BYU Idaho, actually.
All right.
When I was there, I was able to sign up for the Jerusalem program. That's where I met Natalie in 2017. And then I ended up transferring in 2018 to BYU Provo, and then ended up graduating during COVID in 2020. So,
and what did you study?
I studied American Studies. So, has absolutely nothing to do with my current career or what I'm doing today for my job. But I realized early on that businesses don't really care kind of what you get your bachelor's degree in. It's all about experience. And
right.
So I wanted to do something that I enjoyed, and I loved history and learning about different people and cultures. And that's kind of what American Studies entails. So, yeah.
What was your BYU Jerusalem GPA? Do you remember?
I don't. I think I'm assuming it was pretty good.
Because there was a lot of history.
There was a lot of history. And I'm sure the professors, if they are listening to this, I didn't think it was super hard.
What?
But I enjoyed. I think maybe because I really enjoyed the subjects,
right.
And so I didn't think it was really taxing.
True.
So yeah,
I enjoyed it too, but I just can't take a test to write that good of a paper apparently. So I got a horrible GPA. But I loved everything we were learning, and I remember there was a lot of you guys that were like, this is so easy, and like you guys were so good at it and aced all the classes. So I bet you got mostly A's, whereas I was on the C level. But no, like
I always struggled academically,
really?
And I think there was like a little switch that went off probably when I transferred, shortly before I transferred to BYU Provo, and I was like, hey, I can actually do this. My siblings were always super smart. My brother's still getting his PhD right now at the University of Pennsylvania, and my sister has a master's. I'm, in fact, have the lowest kind of education level out of my family, but
you're pretty smart from all I know about you.
Yeah, but I was persistent, and I kept on, plugging away and got good grades in the end and graduated, I think, with like a 3.7. Not that it really matters in the end.
Honestly, it really doesn't. Like you
said, it's good validation.
Experience. Yeah, good validation. But yeah, your experience matters.
Yeah.
And then you just find what you love for work. So what do you do for work, you were saying?
Yeah, so I work at Adobe. I've been there for 3 years, coming up in late August, so this month. It's been a wild ride. A recruiter actually reached out to me on LinkedIn, and that's kind of how I made my way into the company. Otherwise, it probably would have been very difficult, as it is nowadays with any company. You have hundreds of applicants, and it's hard to distinguish yourself from other people. So, but yeah, I was able to make my way in and have been there ever since. And it's been a great experience. I think it's a great culture there, a lot of opportunity for growth, and I was working really hard to get a promotion. I recently got that, which I was excited about. And I've been in this new role, which is an account manager for the Marketo team for the last couple months. So it's been a big learning curve. So yeah,
awesome.
To say the least. But I've been enjoying myself. Yeah.
That's awesome. I think you're crushing it. So that's great.
Thanks.
Well, now for the meat of the podcast. You gave me kind of 3 options, but what do you light up about? And then we'll hone in on one.
I mean, I have a lot of interests. I mean, things that I light up about is I'm a big foodie. I love trying out new restaurants. When I moved to American Fork, I was previously in Salt Lake for the last 4 years after I graduated.
Yeah.
And it's just fun kind of trying out new places. And
yeah.
Food has always been a big part of my life since day one. I actually thought about going to culinary school shortly after I graduated from BYU.
Awesome.
And wanted to be like the bear, Jeremy White or Alan White or whatever his name is, and do my own
look
thing.
That up, because I don't know. That's cool.
Yeah.
I don't think I knew that about you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And what's a favorite restaurant you've tried recently?
Great question. There's one that's pretty local to me. It's called Del Mar. It's a Mexican restaurant, and they make pretty good fajitas. Yeah, they're good.
You should start a food blog. Or a food Instagram.
I don't know if people probably watch you. I don't know if they want to tune in to watch or listen to me or do any type of writing blog. I don't know.
You just go to a place and take a picture of the food and rate it, right? I mean, there's female foodie. You could be male foodie or foodie male. I don't know.
But true.
I think
that's true.
There's a lot of girl influencers in that space, but I don't see too many guys out there trying restaurants. So there might be a niche for it, Matt.
There might be, yeah.
You also said you love reading and tennis, pickleball, traveling. I found this interesting. Go ahead, and then I'll jump in.
I'm actually going to the U.S. Open tennis tournament
in New York City.
In New York City, so I leave at the end of this month. This will be the second time I've went, and my siblings all moved back on the East Coast. Like I said, my brother's in Philadelphia. So, and that was something we always kind of bonded with growing up. Our family is not a sports family at all, which, so my dad never played any sports. My mom was the one who kind of was a little bit sportsy, but we were kind of more of like the arts was kind of like the big thing that our family related to each other with. Cool. So gaming and kind of the arts and food and all that. So, but tennis, my mom played tennis in college. And so we actually all kind of adopted it for a little bit. My sister and my brother and I all played. And then, I still really love it. I follow it. I was watching the Olympics and some of the tennis there. But yeah, I'm excited to go back to the U.S. Open.
Oh, that's so cool. That's on my bucket list. I want to go to Wimbledon and the U.S. Open. So one of these days I'll make it. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's funny because last time I went there, I was walking around with my brother and his new baby in the Longwood Gardens, which is a really famous botanical garden in the Pennsylvania area. And I was wearing the tennis stuff I got from the gift shop at the U.S. Open, and somebody stopped me. This was shortly after the tournament ended, and said, "Oh, did you play in the U.S. Open? Were you a participant?" I said, "No, I wish I was. I'm not that good, but no, I just thought that was really funny." So
I have a Boston Marathon hat that I bought at the Boston Marathon, but I didn't run it, so I get it. Well, fun. So now we're going to elaborate a little bit on some of these passions.
Okay.
Do you want to start with the harder one or the easier one?
You choose. I'll let you choose. You're running this.
I was intrigued by your relationship with food, because there are people in my life that have expressed similar sentiments, and I think sometimes for myself, I think this is a topic to learn more about. So I would love to hear your journey.
Yeah. So, like I said, I love food, but growing up, my relationship with it was definitely challenging. Our family, as many families do, go in and out of these diet fads or whatever, just to stay healthy. And diet culture is not a healthy culture, in my opinion. And I think a
Yeah,
lot of nutritionists agree with that. And
totally.
you usually see it's rare for a man to speak about kind of eating disorders, I feel like, but
Yeah.
that's something that I kind of experienced growing up. I always felt very self-conscious about my body image. um, I was envious of people who kind of could keep off weight pretty easily. And the Nielsen's, which is my last name, we're big eaters. So at family gatherings, we're all about eating and
Good
having a
food.
big spread, and that's the way we kind of brought people together, which is a very lovely thing. But yeah, I just had a kind of a rocky relationship with food. Um, I guess the comparison game, you compare yourself to others, and it's very unhealthy to do that. And it
Yeah.
took me a while after doing some therapy to kind of come to a place of acceptance about how I look and my body image. And it's okay to eat a donut or eat some of this other stuff. And
Yeah.
it's all about kind of taking a deep dive into your emotions and how you feel, and being open to feeling that, being embodied in that experience. I think oftentimes we try to disassociate ourselves from our bodies,
Hmm.
and
Why do you, go ahead.
that happens a lot in the church too. I feel like we're taught to kind of like transcend the natural self, and so it's we try to get away from anything that's kind of earthly because it's not of God. And so I think
Hmm.
um, it's hard to be embodied. I think is a really important lesson that I've learned through the years, and has helped me be more confident in myself and in
Yeah.
who I am. And yeah.
So, what adds to, or like, what are some things that maybe people could try to build their confidence in their body and with their relationship with food?
Yeah. That's a really good question. For me, seeing a therapist was great. I
Right.
did group therapy. I think that's really beneficial to people who are struggling with their body image or any type of eating disorder.
Yeah.
Seeing that other people are struggling, with something similar to you is a relief in some aspects. Like you feel like you're not alone in facing that.
I like that.
And I think honestly, um, there's a lot of comparison that we do. Hey, that person has a nice car, that person has a nice house, that person has a great job. I seem to not be making strides in those areas. Or like in Utah, hey, people my age are married, they have kids. Why
Oh,
isn't that
yeah.
why
Yep.
isn't that happening for me? God seems to be blessing them with these things, and I've also been trying to date and do all this stuff,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that like comparison game. But what a lot of people don't think about is like everybody's struggling. Like everybody has issues in their lives. And I think you just need to be a lot more forgiving to yourself. And in terms of like, eating and relationship with food,
Yeah.
it's okay to like binge eat. It's okay to do that. It's okay to feel a certain way. Like, again, I think we're trying to distance ourselves from everything because it feels uncomfortable.
Hmm.
Um, but I think realizing that it's okay to feel that way or be that way is um, that's that will help you get some confidence in yourself. So yeah,
Like, it's okay to just be. Like, it's okay to not
yeah,
have a rhyme or reason to eat a cookie. And, like,
yeah,
yeah, there's self control. I mean, for me, it's like, I know I feel sick if I have too much, So it's
yeah,
like I can satisfy
yeah,
and then I'm okay. Speaking of, I've been craving like little white donut holes all week, and I was at the
Yeah.
grocery store and they only had like this giant thing, so I held off. But I'm still like, it's still in my mind, and sometimes it's on your mind until you satisfy it, right? But I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
I don't know. Relationship with food is interesting. Luckily for me, I'm blessed and grateful. I haven't had too much of a struggle with it.
Yeah.
And part of that has just been accepting my body as it is, you know? And like, if my number one goal is like, do my very best to fill it with nutritious, good food, clean food,
Mm-hmm.
then like the other things can help balance, like, things will balance out as well as like, as long as my priorities are straight with what I'm putting into my body. But I've never
Yeah.
been like, I've tried to go off sugar for like 2 weeks here, or was gonna go off candy this year and didn't do that. But it's like, it's not something I'm having every day and I need. And like, it's the meaning we put behind it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the same with most things in life, you know.
Right? Our
You
perspective.
Yeah, yeah. You associate behaviors with um, certain action. You associate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the correct words, but yeah, there's always something behind the action. Is basically what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, being able to dive deep into those behaviors
Yeah.
and understand that will help you kind of better understand yourself and why you
Yeah.
relate to certain things.
Better understand yourself.
So,
Yeah, like the meaning you put on it. Like I'm assuming for you, as you've talked about it, it's like majority of it, it's like your foods with your family and it's relationships, and it's like the Nielsen's eat, and we're good at eating and we eat a lot and we make good food. And then like maybe some of that was taken to the extreme, which maybe caused more problems of the comparison game, letting comparison in.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that's nice to have like a little more awakening, and you can reflect on where you are and where you want to be. But like, to do it in a healthy way, your motives matter, as well as just accepting just who you are and how your body is, because every body is different. And I had a companion on my mission. She would always be like, well, this was when I had gained a lot of weight on my mission, and I would complain a lot. And she was like, whoa, 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 Sister Blah. She's like, just tell me you're confident in your body every day, and like yell it to me, basically. And so I started getting in the habit of saying that to her, and it like worked. Mind over matter. Like, I just started to be like, I'm confident in my body, and like, if I take care of myself, then I can continue to be happy with it. And it changes every year, right? The older you get, our bodies change, and I just have to accept it.
Yeah.
Do what I
can.
can.
No, I hear you. Yeah, I had a friend growing up who may have not been the best look, like in terms of like ideal, like but you see on a poster image or whatever,
right?
But even despite that, what society would say, like, that's not like the most attractive body, like, this person was so free to like express themselves, and at the beach, take off the shirt, like, it's stuff like that, is just freedom in expressing yourself. And I think that person taught me a lot about just being who you are, and this is your body, enjoy it and live life to its fullest, so yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
What else helps you live your life to the fullest? Like, you were talking about how you were so focused the last few months on getting a promotion at work, and now you've got it, so you already have like your next thing in mind. Okay, so back up to my first part of that question. Sorry, go ahead. Before I ramble. So the question.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Can you repeat the question now?
Yeah, I know. I was like, sorry, I just talked myself in and out of that pretty fast. What else helps you devote energy to like food and your relationship with food? And then just, you said you were focusing on the promotion. Like, what are the steps in that focus mentality that help you? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So kind of how do I focus my energies?
Yep.
Like what I do. Okay.
Yes.
Well, speaking to like the job aspect, it was so difficult. Like, working at a big company like that, like Adobe, which is where I'm at today, um, there's so many qualified people, and the industry has been really hit hard, and a lot of companies are laying off people.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
um, it's hard to make a name for yourself amongst the masses. And despite my best efforts on like setting myself apart, it took me a long time to like several rounds of interviews, several rejections, and
Hmm.
but I think ultimately, like, I trusted that I would land in a place that would help me grow, um, and I'm happy where I landed the job that I currently have.
That's awesome.
I think my manager is incredible. I really like my team. It's a big learning curve. There's a lot that I still need to, plug away at, but I'm really happy with where I landed. I think ultimately it was just a lot of faith that I would land in a good place despite all the rejection. So
Yeah,
I could have been a lot of people in my position might have left the company
yeah,
because it was just too difficult, and some do, and I
yeah.
don't blame them, but
But you held it out.
um,
You had your eyes set on the prize.
but yeah, it's probably my persistence and tenacity speaks there,
Yeah.
where I'm like, ah, it would be a failure if, in my opinion, if I couldn't get to that point. I worked so hard at it. I didn't want to give up on it. It's kind of like a dog chasing a bone. It's like,
Yeah.
it's so close, and you've had a lot of at bats, and you'll get there eventually. And
And you did.
yeah, and I did.
And
So
now that
I'm really
increases,
happy about that.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
that increases your faith and persistence for the next thing you want to put your energy into.
It, Exactly. It makes me feel like I'm capable of doing a hard thing. My mission was a similar thing. Like, I committed to that. I committed to a mission. It was extremely difficult. I got very sick on my mission.
Oh,
Um,
really? Like just all sorts of.
just, yeah, I don't
Mm-hmm.
even know what it was, but yeah, it's just, yeah. Got very sick, didn't have the best of companions. It was just a tough mission.
Yeah.
Didn't I had to learn a new language, which a lot of people think, oh, it's so great to go to a foreign speaking mission. You get to learn a new language.
Mm-hmm.
It's you feel so inadequate
Oh,
doing that,
I can
and
relate 100%.
people, and it's also like embarrassing in a sense, because like people don't understand you. Try to speak with them, and they're like, I just can't get it, and you feel like a failure like a lot of the time. Until towards the end of your mission, when you actually are like, hey, I actually think I can form together some
Well,
sentences here and talk. But
I mean, if that for
um,
me, honestly.
yeah,
Hmm.
but yeah. So I think like doing hard things like that teaches you that you can do that. You can do it.
You have
Um,
the energy to learn how to channel and push through. Your quote was lean into the discomfort. And it is
yeah,
so hard to do because our brains are wired to literally avoid pain and discomfort. And so you have to
yeah.
really push through, which kind of, I love that you were talking about, like, yeah, it was easy to get hard on yourself learning the language. And like your uplifting takeaway, do you remember what you wrote down for today's episode?
I don't.
That's all right. But I want to end on this note. But you said, be forgiving to yourself. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to not be in a good place. Feel what you're feeling and know that people care about you. What do you have to
Yeah.
add to wrap up today's episode?
No, I think that speaks volumes. I Be forgiving to yourself. Like, if you make mistakes, don't beat yourself up. It's okay.
How do we not do
Ta
that though? It's so easy to justify, like, oh, I didn't do that. Oh, I went to bed at 1 a.m. again, turned on a show, like, again. How do we not
Yeah.
beat ourselves up?
Um, life is life is forgiving. I think in many senses, you have a lot more opportunities to make up lost ground, and so I think people, when they're beating themselves up, they feel like this. I've done this so often. There's no other opportunities to to become better, to do better. And I think, yeah, life has a lot more to give than you think.
Ooh,
So,
I love that. I love that so
yeah,
much. I kind of want to just end right there. Life has a lot more to give than we realize. Or how did you word it? You said it more eloquently. Life has a lot more to give.
yeah.
Oh, Matt, that was great. You have so many insights, and I wish we could go on for longer, but we'll keep this one to the point. And I think my takeaway for today was like, check yourself so you're not comparing because that kills joy and like puts you in a harder place to then be okay with your life and be forgiving to yourself. So it's like, be okay with yourself, accept the things about you, but also like you're such a driven guy and you have purpose and goals. And it's, I was talking to my therapist about goals today, and I was like, I haven't had goals like in a while, and she's like, well, maybe that's okay, maybe you don't need any goals right now, maybe you can just have a loose goal. And I was like, but I'm like, so I need a
Yeah.
plan, you know, I'm controlling. And so it's like, whoa, I need to just like sit back, but at the same time still be using the momentum and growing, and just remember life has a lot to give. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. Any final words signing off?
No, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to do this.
Thank you.
And
Thank you so much. I know you're a busy guy, so thank you. Everybody, I'll link Matt's info if you have questions about just how to push for what you want. I mean, like, he's succeeded in his career, and maybe if you want to go deeper on relationship with food, I'm sure he'd be willing to share more. So, everyone, have a great rest of your week. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Thanks. Yep.
One more thing with our guest, Matt, this week. I want to just have him express a few things he was sharing with me, just kind of about his family life and challenges that have come and how he's dealt with that. So take it away, Matt. Tell us a little bit about your journey in this regard.
Yeah, so I explained a little bit on the form that you told me to fill out before the interview that growing up was definitely a little bit more different than like the normal Mormon or LDS family. So my dad ended up coming out as gay when I was a young teenager, and he doesn't, he's still married to my mom. He made a choice to still stay married to my mom. He's actually done several podcasts.
Wow.
That he's released when he came out publicly, which was a few years ago. And yeah, it's definitely been it's given me greater perspective on God's plan for us, on what masculinity means. What does it mean to be a man? What does marriage look like? What does gender roles look like? I think in the church, as I was telling you before, in the church, we tend to think if something's not 100% right, it's 100% wrong, that
Super
black and white mentality. But I think it's okay to be in that gray space. It's okay to not know, I think a lot of the times we want to like grasp everything in our hands. We want that control and understand everything. But and when somebody tells you, hey, that's not a part of the God's plan of salvation, so it's basically saying, you're telling me that like the limited understanding that we have, that's everything. Like God has really dumbed down the plan of salvation to three circles, for us, and like a child's drawing, it's so much more than that.
We can't even our brains like can't comprehend it now, and we will eventually, right?
So I think in terms of like my dad coming out, it's just given me the opportunity to reflect on like I said before, like God's plan of salvation. What does it mean to be a man? What does it mean to be in a committed relationship? And all that. So
well, and I'm sure, like you were saying, watching your dad having to go through people accepting him too in your community and space, what has stood out to you with that?
Yeah, that was really challenging for him. I don't want to 100% speak for him because it's
Right.
not my experience, but yeah, I know that that was very challenging for him. That he didn't get, leadership roles. He didn't,
Mm.
and he really wanted that. He didn't get to be involved with certain organizations because of, you know, discrimination and
Dang.
all that. And and hey, he's still married to my mom. He's not out, in the community. He's a great example to me of somebody who loves God, loves his family, and is very in tuned with the Spirit.
Mm. That's
Um,
beautiful.
and he's also aware of those people who are on the outskirts of not just church settings, but also
Just
social settings.
and
He's
people who are
very,
like him
yeah,
and his
and he's very
orientation.
mindful, and I hope that I can replicate that
Yeah.
in my own life, is just being observant, um, and I think that's the tricky part. I think that's why a lot of young people are leaving, the Mormon LDS Church, is because
Mhm.
they feel like they don't belong. They're different. They're too different. They don't fit into the world of the white picket fence, golden retriever, married,
Yeah.
couple kids. Like, they just don't fit into that mold. And I think my dad's example is like, you can fit into this. You can be different, and it's okay.
Different yet
And you,
still be in society. Like fit in.
yeah,
I feel like fit in has a more it can be derogatory. It's like, "Oh, they don't fit in." But it's like, "No, you can still I don't know, just treat people better and kinder and that
yeah,
everyone belongs, right?"
yeah. And it's interesting because that was Christ's whole ministry. That's who he hung out with. He hung
Yeah.
out with people who were very different from the straight laced Pharisees and Sadducees. All of his 12 disciples, the women that followed him, they were all very, very different, very diverse
Yeah.
people. And I think we need to make a point of getting back to that. Like, it's okay to, you can contribute to this organization, to this culture,
Yeah.
if you stay in it,
I
So
love that.
yeah,
Well, and if you
yeah,
resonate with the truths taught, like I think about how the truths affect my life, maybe compared to someone who isn't a practicing member of the Church of Jesus Christ anymore, yet still have those beliefs and morals. They just live it differently, and it's cool that they
yeah,
still belong too, and like God loves them all
hmm
the same. Um,
yeah,
I
yeah.
had one more thought. I can't remember. But Matt, thank you.
You're
This
good.
was
Yeah,
just a good piece of enlightenment and a good reminder just to help everyone feel belonged and loved. Oh, The Chosen. That's what I was thinking of. That has helped me see different personalities
hmm
and like how we can be better and more inclusive and help others feel seen and valued
hmm
as Christ helped people feel. So, and
yeah.
continues to help people feel. So, thank you
hmm
for this little snippet, Matt.
Yeah, of course.
We'll sign off again. Everybody have a great,
Thanks.
great week, and we'll
Sounds good.
talk to you soon. Thanks, Matt. See ya.
Yeah.